I used to believe that love was something you recognized instantly. Like a scent you'd never smelled before, but somehow knew belonged to you. That's how it felt with Marcus. The first time he touched my hand, I remember thinking, this is it. This is the life I prayed for. I was 32, finally stable, finally chosen. A black woman who had waited long enough to stop pretending she didn't want marriage, security, softness. I wanted all of it. And Marcus looked like the answer. Tall. Calm. Attentive in public. Quiet in private. The kind of man who lets silence sit between sentences without rushing to fill it. Everyone loved him. Everyone, except her. Aaliyah had been my best friend since college. 14 years of inside jokes, shared apartments, ugly breakups, late-night wine confessions, and emergency phone calls that started with, "I need you right now." She knew me better than anyone. Or at least, that's what I thought. When I told her Marcus had proposed, she smiled. But it was the kind of smile that arrives late, like it had to be summoned. "Oh my God," she said. Wow. That's big." I didn't notice then, but her eyes never lit up. We were sitting in my kitchen, the ring still warm on my finger, sparkling under cheap overhead light. I kept twisting my hand back and forth, addicted to the way the diamond caught the glow. She watched. Quiet. Too quiet. "You okay?" I asked, laughing. "You're acting like you just got engaged." She took a sip of wine. Then another. "I just want you to be careful," she said finally. I laughed. Actually laughed. "Careful?" I repeated. "Aaliyah, I've known him for 3 years." She nodded slowly. "I know. I just think some people are really good at being exactly what you need." That sentence hung in the air longer than it should have. I waved it away. "You sound dramatic." Her jaw tightened. Just for a second. "I'm serious," she said. "Marriage doesn't change people. It reveals them." I rolled my eyes, stood up, and pulled her into a hug. "You've always been scared of marriage," I whispered into her hair. "That doesn't mean mine is a mistake." She hugged me back. But her arms felt stiff. Looking back now, I replay that moment constantly. I wonder what would have happened if I had listened instead of laughing. If I had asked why instead of assuming jealousy. If I had noticed the way her voice cracked when she said, "Be careful." Because that wasn't the first warning. It was just the first one I ignored. And if you're already feeling that tightness in your chest, go ahead and hit like. You're going to need to stay with me for this. Because the truth about my marriage didn't start at the altar. It started with the woman standing right beside me. The wedding planning moved fast. Too fast, if I'm being honest. Marcus said it was because he didn't believe in long engagements. When you know, he told everyone. Why wait? People nodded. Smiled. Applauded his certainty. I tried to ignore the way my stomach tightened every time he said it. At first, the cracks were small. Invisible to anyone who wasn't living inside the relationship. He corrected me in front of people, softly, with a smile. "No, babe, that's not how it happened." Or, "You're remembering it wrong." Nothing aggressive. Nothing obvious. Just enough to make me second-guess myself. If I brought it up later, he'd laugh. "You're too sensitive," he'd say, pulling me close. I was just joking. And I wanted to be the kind of woman who didn't make problems out of nothing. Aaliyah noticed. She started dropping by more often. Asking questions she never used to ask. "So how are things really? Does he ever get quiet when he's upset? Have you met his ex yet?" I brushed her off every time. "You're looking for issues," I told her one night as we folded place cards at my dining table. Why can't you just be happy for me? She froze, a card halfway bent between her fingers. I am happy for you, she said. That's why I'm worried. I sighed. You don't trust him because you don't trust men. She flinched. That should have told me something. Instead, I kept going. The week before the wedding, Marcus suggested something that felt strange. I think it'd be better if Aaliyah wasn't your maid of honor. I stared at him. What? He shrugged. Casual. She doesn't support us. I don't want negative energy that close to us on our day. She's my best friend. And I'm your future husband, he said, still calm. Still smiling. I just want peace. Peace. That word sounded so reasonable. So mature. I told myself love required compromise. So I convinced Aaliyah to step down. She didn't argue. Didn't cry. Didn't even look surprised. She just nodded. I figured this would happen, she said quietly. That night, she sent me a long text. If you ever need me, no matter what, I'm here. Even if you don't understand right now. I never replied. I was too busy convincing myself that love meant choosing my husband over my doubts. The wedding was beautiful. White flowers. Gold accents. Soft music that made everyone emotional. Marcus cried at the altar. People still tell me how lucky I am. But when he slid the ring onto my finger, his grip was just a little too tight. And as I smiled for the cameras, I saw Aaliyah in the back row. Not smiling. Watching. Like she already knew how this would end. If this is starting to feel familiar, go ahead and subscribe. You're not imagining things. Because the Real warning didn't come from Marcus. It came from the silence that followed. People say nothing really changes after marriage. They're lying. Something shifted the moment we got home from the honeymoon. Not dramatically. Not all at once. It was subtle, like the air in a room going stale, slowly, until one day you realize you can't breathe. Marcus stopped asking. Not big things. Little ones. What do you want for dinner? Turned into, I already ordered. Do you mind if I stay late? Became, I told them I'd be out. At first, I told myself this was normal. This was what settling in looked like. But then came the rules. He didn't call them that. He called them preferences. He preferred that I didn't wear certain dresses anymore. He preferred that I check in if I was out too late. He preferred that I didn't talk about our arguments with outside people. Especially Aaliyah. You don't need her opinions in our marriage, he said one night, scrolling through his phone. She's not married. She wouldn't understand. I didn't answer. I hadn't spoken to her in weeks anyway. One evening, I came home late from work. Traffic. Dead phone battery. Nothing dramatic. Marcus was sitting in the dark. No TV. No music. Just him. You didn't answer my calls, he said. I apologized immediately. Too quickly. He stood up, walked past me, and locked the door. Click. Something cold slid down my spine. I worry about you, he said softly. Anything could happen. His voice was calm. Concerned. But his eyes were flat. After that night, I started feeling like I was always being watched. Not followed. Observed. If I laughed too loud on the phone, he'd glance over. If I took too long getting ready, he'd ask who I was trying to impress. When I pushed back, even gently, he'd sigh. I miss the old you, he'd say. Marriage really changed you. I started to believe him. I stopped trusting my instincts. Stopped reaching out. Stopped questioning the knot in my stomach that never quite went away. Then, one afternoon, I ran into Aaliyah at the grocery store. By accident. She looked thinner. Sharper. Like someone who hadn't been sleeping. She stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. "Are you okay?" she asked immediately. I opened my mouth to say yes. Nothing came out. Her eyes flicked to the bruise on my arm. Not a dramatic bruise. Just a shadow. Yellowing. Marcus had grabbed me too hard during an argument about nothing. It was my fault, I heard myself say. I'm clumsy. Aaliyah nodded. But her face hardened. You know, she said quietly, this is exactly how it started for my cousin. My heart started pounding. She leaned closer. Isolation. Control. Making you doubt yourself. I shook my head. You don't know him like I do. She exhaled slowly. I know patterns, she said. And I know you. She reached into her purse and slipped something into my hand. A folded piece of paper. If you ever need proof, she whispered, or a way out, read this. Then she walked away. I didn't unfold the paper until that night. And once I did, I understood why Marcus never wanted her near us. If this tension is tightening in your chest, take a second and like this video. Stay with me. Because what was written on that paper changed everything. I sat on the edge of the bed with that folded paper in my hands for almost an hour. Marcus was in the shower. The sound of running water felt louder than it should have been. My fingers shook as I unfolded it. At first, it looked like nothing. Just names. Dates. Short notes written in tight, angry handwriting. 3 women. All married. All divorced. All, at some point, involved with Marcus. My stomach turned. Next to each name were phrases that felt uncomfortably familiar. Charming at first. Moved fast. Hated my friends. Said I was too sensitive. Would apologize, then repeat. I felt like I was reading my own thoughts written by someone else. At the bottom of the page was a phone number. And one final sentence. He doesn't hit at first. He erases. The shower turned off. I folded the paper fast, shoved it inside my pillowcase, and forced myself to breathe normally. That night, Marcus wrapped his arm around me in bed. You're quiet, he murmured. Everything okay? I nodded. Just tired. He kissed my forehead. Gentle. Careful. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment I had dismissed. Every time I had defended him. Every warning I had ignored. The next morning, I tried something small. I told him I was meeting Aaliyah for coffee. His body stiffened instantly. Why? Because I miss her. Silence. Then a smile. Thin. Measured. I just don't want her filling your head with negativity, he said. But do what you want. That sentence sounded like permission. It wasn't. When I got to the cafe, Aaliyah was already there. She didn't waste time. You read it, she said. I nodded. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I asked. She swallowed. Because you wouldn't have believed me. And because he warned me. My chest tightened. Warned you? She leaned forward. After your engagement, he asked me to stay out of your relationship. Said I owed you peace. The exact same words. I felt sick. I've been documenting him for years, she continued. Women he's dated. Patterns. Receipts. My voice came out small. Why? Because men like him don't stop. They just get better at hiding. On my way home, my phone buzzed. Marcus. You said coffee. It's been 2 hours. Another message. Where are you? Another. Answer me. By the time I walked through the door, he was pacing. You lied to me, he said calmly. I didn't. You met with her. My heart hammered. How do you know? He stopped. Smiled. I know you, he said. Better than you know yourself. That night, I slept with my purse under my pillow. The paper tucked inside. Because I was starting to understand something terrifying. The woman I thought was trying to sabotage my marriage might be the only reason I survive it. If your instincts are screaming right now, don't ignore them. Subscribe. Stay alert. Because the next step Marcus took wasn't subtle. It was strategic. There's a moment, a very specific moment, when a controlling person realizes they're losing you. It's not when you argue. It's not when you cry. It's when you go quiet. Marcus noticed. I stopped explaining myself. Stopped defending my schedule. Stopped trying to convince him I loved him enough. And that scared him. He started showing up unexpectedly. At my job. At the gym I'd just joined, the one I hadn't told him about. You didn't mention this place, he said, scanning the room. I forced a smile. It was last minute. That night, he cooked dinner. Lit candles. Put on music from our honeymoon. The old Marcus. I've been thinking, he said, pouring wine. Maybe I've been too hard on you. My stomach clenched. I just love you so much, he continued. The thought of losing you, it messes with my head. He reached for my hand. I let him hold it. That was my first mistake. The apologies came in waves. I'm working on myself. I'd never hurt you. I don't want to be like my father. He even suggested couples therapy. I'll do anything, he said, eyes glossy. Just don't shut me out. Part of me wanted to believe him. That part of me was dangerous. Behind his back, I met Aaliyah again. She showed me more. Text messages. Voicemails. Screenshots. Women begging him to leave them alone. Him responding with flowers. Then threats. Then silence. He escalates when he feels exposed, she said. You need to be careful. That same night, Marcus went through my phone. I knew because he asked questions he shouldn't have had answers to. Why did you Google domestic abuse resources? He asked casually, brushing his teeth. My blood ran cold. I was helping a coworker, I lied. He nodded. Too easily. Later, in bed, he wrapped his arm around my waist. I hope you know, he whispered, I couldn't live without you. Not wouldn't. Couldn't. That wasn't love. That was a warning. I started planning quietly. Cash. Documents. A spare set of keys hidden at Aaliyah's place. Then came the night everything shifted. I came home to find my suitcase on the bed. Empty. I was organizing, Marcus said from the doorway. You're always so messy. Inside my chest, something snapped. He wasn't apologizing anymore. He was preparing. If you're still with me, go ahead and like this. Because the next thing he did was meant to make sure I never left. And it almost worked. It was raining the night Marcus finally stopped pretending. Not a storm. Just enough rain to make the streets shine and the air feel heavy. I was late. Again. But this time, it wasn't work. I had gone to Aaliyah's apartment to copy my documents, birth certificate, passport, social security card. Things he kept organized in his office. When I opened the door, the lights were off. Marcus was sitting at the kitchen table. Waiting. "You're getting sloppy," he said without looking up. My heart slammed against my ribs. "I told you I'd be home late," I replied, forcing my voice steady. He laughed. A short, humorless sound. "No. You told me what you wanted me to believe." He stood. And for the first time since I'd known him, he didn't smile. "I know you've been planning something," he said. "You think I haven't noticed?" I backed toward the door slowly. "You don't trust me anymore," he continued. "After everything I've done for you." "For me?" I repeated. His face twisted. "I gave you a life," he snapped. "A name. Protection." He grabbed my wrist. Not hard enough to leave a mark. Just enough to remind me he could. "Let go," I said quietly. Something flickered in his eyes. Fear. Then rage. He released me abruptly and slammed his fist into the wall beside my head. "I could ruin you," he hissed. "Do you understand that?" I nodded. That was the smartest thing I did all night. He stepped back, breathing hard. Then, like flipping a switch, his voice softened. "I'm sorry," he said. "I scared you." He reached for me. I flinched. That's when he knew. The mask was gone. The next morning, he acted like nothing had happened. Made coffee. Kissed my cheek. Asked about my day. But something else had changed. He started locking the door when he left. Hiding my shoes. Misplacing my wallet. When I confronted him, he smiled. "You lose things when you're stressed." I texted Aaliyah from a burner phone. "I think he knows." "I'm scared." She replied instantly. "You need to leave. Now." I didn't get the chance. Because that evening, Marcus did something that made my blood run cold. He invited someone over. Someone from his past. And he wanted me to watch. If your breath just caught, hit like. Because this is where the truth got ugly. Her name was Lila. Marcus said it casually, like he was introducing a coworker. "Babe, this is Lila. We used to date." Used to. My stomach dropped. She stood in the doorway, rain-soaked, eyes tired, hands clenched around her purse like a lifeline. She looked at me, really looked, and I saw it. Recognition. Not of me. Of the situation. Marcus poured wine for all of us, humming softly like this was a dinner party. Lila didn't touch her glass. "I told you I didn't want to come," she said to him. He smiled. "I just thought it'd be healing. For everyone." Healing. He sat between us. Too close. "I wanted my wife to hear it from you," he said, placing a hand on my knee. "How unstable you were. How you imagine things." My chest burned. Lila's jaw tightened. "That's not why you called me," she said quietly. Marcus chuckled. "You always did have a flair for drama." She turned to me then. "I'm sorry," she said. I tried to warn her too. My heart stopped. "Warn who?" I asked. "Aaliyah." The room tilted. Marcus's hand tightened on my leg. "She messaged me years ago," Lila continued. "Asked about him. I told her everything." Marcus stood abruptly. "That's enough," he snapped. But Lila wasn't done. "He threatened me," she said, voice shaking. "Said if I talked, he'd make sure no one believed me." Silence. I could hear my own heartbeat. Marcus laughed again, louder this time. "See?" he said, turning to me. This is what I deal with. Lies. Delusions. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but they held. Leave, I said. He stared at me. Excuse me. I said leave. Both of you. Lila looked relieved. Marcus looked dangerous. This is my house, he said slowly. No, I replied. It's ours. He stepped closer. You're embarrassing yourself. Lila grabbed her purse. I shouldn't have come, she whispered. As she passed me, she pressed something into my hand. A small flash drive. He records, she murmured. Everything. Marcus saw the exchange. His face went blank. That night, after Lila left, he locked the door. And turned to me with a look I had never seen before. Pure calculation. If you feel trapped right now, you're not alone. Subscribe. Stay with me. Because the next move wasn't about love. It was about control. Marcus didn't touch me that night. That was the part that terrified me most. He cleaned the kitchen slowly. Methodically. Like a man with time. You humiliated me, he said finally, back still turned. I told the truth, I replied. He laughed softly. You don't even know what that is anymore. He went to bed without another word and fell asleep within minutes. I didn't. I lay there staring at the ceiling, the flash drive burning in my palm under the sheets like it was alive. At 3:12 a.m., I slipped out of bed. Heart pounding. Bare feet silent against the floor. I locked myself in the bathroom and plugged the flash drive into my laptop. There were folders. Dated. Labeled. Women's names. Some I recognized from Aaliyah's list. Some I didn't. Audio files. Videos. Marcus's voice filled my ears. Calm. Patient. Loving. Then cold. Mocking. Threatening. I watched one video where a woman cried while he corrected her memories in real time. That never happened, he said gently. You're confused again. I slammed the laptop shut, nausea rising. This wasn't just abuse. It was documentation. Insurance. By morning, I knew what he was doing. He wasn't afraid of exposure. He was prepared for it. When I came out of the bathroom, Marcus was already dressed. You look pale, he said. I booked you an appointment. With who? A therapist, he replied. I'm worried about you. My blood turned to ice. You went through my laptop, I said. He tilted his head. I'm your husband. I have nothing to hide. He kissed my cheek. I told my sister you've been struggling, he added. She agrees you need help. That was the moment I understood the trap. If I left now, I wouldn't just be a woman escaping a bad marriage. I'd be unstable. Paranoid. Unreliable. Exactly how he wanted me framed. I texted Aaliyah from the burner phone. He has recordings. He's trying to make me look crazy. Her response came seconds later. I know. That's why we don't run yet. We. That word steadied me. That evening, Marcus handed me my phone back. I deleted a few contacts, he said. Just unnecessary stressors. My throat tightened. Which ones? He smiled. Trust me. That night, I slept fully clothed. Keys in my pocket. Shoes by the door. Because I realized something crucial. Marcus wasn't going to stop me from leaving by force. He was going to make sure that when I did, no one believed me. If your chest feels tight, take a breath in like this. Because the next part is where the game finally turns. The hardest part wasn't pretending everything was fine. It was pretending I didn't know I was being studied. Marcus watched me like a scientist watches a reaction. Every sigh. Every pause. Every moment of silence. He started provoking me, gently. "You forgot again," he'd say when I hadn't. "You're imagining things," when I questioned him. "Maybe you should take some time off work." He wanted a reaction. A crack. I gave him none. Instead, I started documenting him. The way he had done to others. Dates. Times. Exact words. Aaliyah helped. She had contacts. Advocates. Women who had survived men like Marcus. "This only works if he thinks he's winning," she told me over the burner phone. "You have to let him underestimate you." Then Marcus made his move. He invited his sister over. I'd never met her before. "She's worried about you," he said, squeezing my shoulder a little too tight. She arrived with concern already written on her face. "You seem distant," she said gently. "Marcus says you haven't been sleeping." I smiled politely. That night, Marcus raised his voice for the first time in months. Not yelling. Just enough. When I flinched, I saw it. Satisfaction. The next day, he suggested we record a conversation. "So you can hear yourself later," he said. I agreed. That was my mistake. Because later that evening, I found the email. A draft. Addressed to my boss. Subject: concerned about employees' mental state. My hands shook as I read it. He hadn't sent it yet. He wanted leverage. I forwarded it to myself. Sent copies to Aaliyah. Then I did something reckless. I confronted him. "You're trying to destroy me," I said quietly. He didn't deny it. "I'm trying to protect us," he replied. "From you." That night, I didn't sleep at home. I went to Aaliyah's. When I woke up, there were 12 missed calls. And one voicemail. His voice was calm. Too calm. "If you don't come home," he said, "I'll make the call." I knew exactly which one he meant. "If you're holding your breath, let it out." Because the final trap was already set. I didn't go home. Instead, I went somewhere Marcus never expected. The police station. Not to report him. Not yet. I sat with a domestic violence advocate Aaliyah had already contacted weeks earlier, a woman who listened without interrupting, without doubting, without asking me why I stayed. I handed her everything. The paper. The flash drive. The emails. The recordings. The timeline. "This isn't instability," she said quietly. "This is coercive control." For the first time in months, I felt real air enter my lungs. While Marcus waited for me to panic. We moved. Aaliyah coordinated with the other women. Lila agreed to testify. 2 more came forward. Patterns don't lie when you stack them side by side. By the time Marcus made the call, to my job, to his sister, to anyone who would listen, the narrative was already documented. Protected. When he showed up at Aaliyah's apartment, police were waiting. Not with handcuffs. With boundaries. A restraining order followed within days. Then another. Then consequences. The recordings he kept as weapons. They became evidence. His calm voice. His manipulation. His control. All on record. The marriage ended quietly. No dramatic courtroom scene. No shouting. Just signatures. And silence. The kind that heals. I ran into Aaliyah months later at the same grocery store. This time, I hugged her first. "You tried to save me," I said. She shook her head. I waited until you were ready to save yourself. That's the part people don't talk about. Sometimes the villain isn't the person who hurts you. Sometimes it's the version of you that learned to ignore warnings. And sometimes the person you thought was trying to destroy your happiness is the only one trying to protect your life. If you made it to the end, subscribe. Not for me. For the version of you that knows something isn't right and needs confirmation.